I want to talk with you about some of the diversity of this Sonic KE arrow. This is such a cool shaft because it gives you so many options. It not only boosts your FOC because you can put the heavier point weight in there, and that's what comes standard. They come standard with 75 grains of brass, and you have the option when you select these to choose whether you want the 75 in or you want the 50. Now they're all coming pre-fletched, and I wanted that for a reason because I wanted arrows that the Nock On Nation could have that are totally ready to go. Now if you don't want these fletchings, you can certainly strip them and modify them, and I'm going to talk with you a little bit about what I did. But in the meantime, this is such a bulletproof arrow as it comes, and the reason it's a 3-fletch is because we wanted to be able to keep the price in a range that's attractive for more people and still holds the accuracy. But here's where some of your options come in. So if I take the arrow that I've notoriously shot, which is an Axis 300, 50 grains of brass in the front. I did the Nock On custom pre-fletch, so I had a 4-fletch, and I always shot a lighted nock in there. If I look at this arrow and I weigh this arrow that I always hunted with, and again, this is a 300 spine with 50 grains of brass. So if I have my 100 grain point on there, normally right around 525 is where I shoot. So here's what's cool. Now by going to 75 grains in the front, I'm going to raise my FOC mathematically with this Sonic KE 25% for my arrow length, 25% more FOC. But because I'm now going to the heavier weight in the front, what I need to do so that my arrow is matching my bow for spine or the stiffness of the arrow, I actually go to a 250 spine. And a 250 spine has a little bit more material than a 300, so it's going to be slightly heavier when you're only looking at the shaft, right? But once you put 75 grains in the front, that extra front weight is now going to weaken that spine a little bit more so that it actually shoots comparatively to the 300 with the lighter point. Only again, now I have 25% more FOC. This is super cool because I'm able to take a 250 spine arrow, 75 grains in the front, and I can actually shoot even a heavier field point if I want. I can go to almost a 125 field point instead of my 100, and I still have the same overall weight as this Axis was previously with the 50. Now what I did for my Tack arrows is I actually went with the 300 spine and 50 grains of brass in the front with a 100 grain point. I stripped the fletchings and I went to a PM 2.0 just like this. Now this arrow, because my Tack bow is only 63 pounds for peak weight versus my hunting bow, which is over 10 pounds heavier, I'm able to go with that 300 spine, so I'm able to go with the weaker spine. I actually went with the 50 grains of brass, and I've got an arrow that is screaming fast for the Tack. It's getting me all the long distance shots I have. I still have 150 total grains in the front of my arrow, but my arrow is 433 grains. So this is an awesome arrow for Tack because now I can achieve all those longer distances. I still have great FOC, so I'm still cutting the wind, and I got much more speed. So you just have so many more options. The main thing to keep in mind though is if you're wanting to go with the full 75 grains of brass, and if you want to have those options of using anything from a 100 grain point up to, even a 200 grain point, make sure you select that next stiffer size. The shaft itself is light enough to where you're not going to be having too heavy of an arrow to where you're not going to be able to achieve the longer distances. This arrow gives you the straightness and the lightness that you need to reconfigure it with a lot of weight up front so that your overall weight gets you where you want to be for your speed without sacrificing your downrange ballistics. This is such a cool shaft. Again, it's going to come standard pre-fletched with a max hybrid vane, which right now, this is the only place you can get it. You've got a right helical. Again, this shaft is so dang straight. This is an awesome, awesome shaft. This is actually based on a project that I worked with Easton years ago with. So glad that this has come out. It gives you so many options. Whether you want to be fast or hit hard, you can do it with the Sonic KE.